Hello, I'm Hannah from Crafted in the Valley and welcome back to another TeckWrapCraft crafting tutorial. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be using some old frames and some vinyl from TeckWrap to make a custom shadow box frame. Now this is just something I decided to do with some old frames that I had lying around the house that I didn't really know what to do with. So I'm going to pull out the glass from a few of these frames to use all in the one. I think I need 5 in total, but I do only have 4, but that's okay because the backing piece I can use just plain vinyl for that. That'll make a lot of more sense once we get down to that stage. So I'm going to set aside all of my glass, and I did actually clean them as well with some rubbing alcohol. So remember to always clean your surfaces before you actually put any of the vinyls on. So now I'm going to pick out some vinyls here. So I've got 5 different ones from a variety of the ranges from TeckWrap. They'll all be linked in the bio if you want to check them out on their website. So let's have a look at the design. So I'm actually going with a mermaid theme, and it's got 5 layers, so 5 different colors, and I'm really happy with how this one is going to look with the colors that I've chosen. But what I'm going to do is actually change them all to the one color, being that I know which layers need to be in which color, so I can actually put the vinyls on the same mat for when I cut them. So I've got the images here. The backing piece I actually don't need. I'll just cut that out separately myself. I don't need to use my Cricut for that. So I'm just going to hide that image there and then cut the rest of them on my machine. I did just try to be wary of where I placed them on my mat so that I had the Glossy and the Starlight cutting on the one mat because they're a similar thickness, but the rainbow stripe is a little bit thicker, so I placed that on the same mat as the bubble-free holographic there, as they do take a little bit more to cut. So I did a double cut on those ones just to make sure they cut all the way through. So I've got my vinyls here all cut. I'm going to take them off of my mat. Now I always try to remove them from the mat with folding the mat backwards, not the vinyl, because I don't want to damage my vinyls at all when I'm peeling them off of my mat. So I've got all my vinyls here cut ready to go. The pink one is actually the backing piece, so I don't need to weed that at all, and I just cut that one separately. I didn't use my Cricut for that one. So that's the 001 Glossy in the sweet pink, and then this one is the Holographic Starlight Gold, which is really pretty. You can see it shining in the light there. And then we've got the 001 Glossy series in the pastel blue. So we'll weed this one out. This is not the backing layer, but it's in the middle there. So we'll weed this one out. This one actually weeds really nicely. I cut this one on the permanent glossy setting on my Cricut. I find that really works really well for me, but you know, each machine's going to be a little bit different. So I've got that one all ready to go there. And then we're moving on to the rainbow stripe, and this is in the pink cyan color, and it's so pretty. I've already got a few things in mind to make with this vinyl for other projects, just because the colors are so nice. And this one actually cut and weeded really nicely as well. I did a double cut on this one in the end, just because I wasn't sure if it needed it. It probably didn't, but you know, you can never be too sure. A double cut never hurt really. So that one's all cut there, ready to go. And then of course the bubble-free holographic. This one is so beautiful. It shines so nicely in the light. I've used some of the other colors as well for other projects, and they're so nice to work with. So I have all my layers here cut ready to go. So now we can actually start the process of applying the vinyls to those glass pieces of the frame. So I'm going to be using my TeckWrap transfer tape. This one does have the grid lines on it, and I'm mostly just going to use a similar method that I use for applying a lot of my vinyl decals, which is to fold over just one end of the backing of the transfer tape, make sure I flatten down the part that's on top of the vinyl, and then actually use that folded piece as a bit of a pull tab to remove it away from the transfer tape as I'm scraping it down over the top there. So I use this method quite a lot when I'm doing a lot of vinyl work. Everyone has their own sort of methods, but I find that works really well for me. And then I'm going to peel away the backing part of the vinyl. I try to always remove the backing rather than lift the vinyl straight upwards. You know, it just ensures that it is actually on the transfer tape properly, although I very rarely have any problems when using the TeckWrap vinyl anyway, especially if you're using their brand of transfer tape as well. So now I can actually go ahead and place that piece of vinyl onto my glass panel and then flatten it down with my scraper as well. So when flattening down vinyls to your project surface, you can actually use heat, like heat gun or something like that, to help activate the adhesive on the vinyl as well if you think you need to, but often you don't really need to, and it's just the adhesive from the vinyl itself that does the work. So now I'm up to peeling away my transfer tape, and as you can see here, I had a little bit of trouble removing the transfer tape. That's because I didn't account for how well it would stick to the glass. So that's my own fault there. So it took a little while to actually remove the transfer tape away from the panel, and it was the same with the other ones as well, but I did get there in the end. So I've got one piece down here, so now I need to work on the other ones, and I used virtually the same sort of process, but I wanted to see how many times I could reuse a single piece of transfer tape for this project. So I'm going to use the same piece on the rainbow stripe vinyl here, and it went down okay, it flattened okay, and it stuck to the transfer tape okay as well. But you can see here, because it's one that I've reused, the transfer tape was crinkled, so that meant it was also crinkling my vinyl a little bit. So that's something to keep in mind if you are thinking of reusing a single piece of transfer tape for multiple pieces of vinyl. With the rainbow stripe, it didn't affect it too much in the end anyway. But you can see here, it peeled away quite a lot easier than the first time, because that's a piece that I was reusing. But with the next piece of vinyl, the glossy is a little bit more susceptible to, say, crinkles, creases and bubbles. So I did reuse that single piece of transfer tape for this layer as well. But in hindsight, I probably should have gotten a new piece for this layer, just to help avoid the crinkling of the vinyl, which you can see here, it did actually crinkle quite badly. But don't worry, I managed to sort of, get it all flattened down as best as I could later on. But with this layer, I actually decided to use the original backing of the vinyl as sort of a pull tab as I flatten down that piece of vinyl onto my glass surface. I just wanted to see how it would work compared to using, say, a piece of parchment paper. And you know what? It actually didn't work out too badly in the end. So it was worth a try, and it did actually do the job. This layer, however, I did have a little bit of trouble removing the transfer tape away from it, and that could be for a couple of different reasons. I think perhaps there might have been a little bit of residue on the glass still, and the vinyl wasn't sticking as well as I would have liked. But again, I should have used a brand new piece of transfer tape. It might have helped to reduce some of those bubbles and things like that when peeling it off. But the thing is with a good quality vinyl is that I was actually able to lift up a couple of the corners of the vinyl itself and sort of reposition it and flatten it down. So I can't imagine a very cheap, thin quality vinyl being able to do that, and that's the difference between a good quality vinyl and one that's not. So that's just something that I've picked up from using different vinyls for different projects. So now I've got to move on to my last layer to put onto a glass panel, and that's the Starlight Holographic, and I did end up getting a new piece of transfer tape for this one. The transfer tape I used beforehand got a little bit scrunched up, so I think it worked out for the best to get a brand new piece of transfer tape for the last layer here. So we'll get the gold on here, and that is the last and final piece. But I did find that pretty much all of my pieces of vinyl did not fit the glass properly. Now that is simply because they are cheap frames from Kmart and not all of the glass pieces were the exact same size, but that's okay because I just got my Stanley knife out and trimmed some of the edges of the vinyl off. And I mean, this project is something you could do at home with some frames that you might have sitting around that you're not quite sure what to do with. That's simply what I did. You could do this smaller, bigger, different images, anything really. So once I had all my pieces all done and ready to go, I was then able to assemble it all together in the frame, hopefully in the right order. And then what I did with the backing piece, which is the pink color, was actually just tape it to the back of the frame there so it was nice and flat. So that actually worked out quite well. And then we've got a final product. So we've got a mermaid inspired shadow box theme with using glass panels and TeckWrapCraft vinyl in a variety of colors. I really hope you've liked this project and given you some inspiration. We'll see you next time for another project soon.